Hello and welcome to Easy Robot. My name is Victoria Bennett, and today we are going to be hearing from the team at Easy Robot, the most engaging robotic education platform to meet the need for robotic literacy and mastery. If you have any questions, just add them into the chat, our comment box on the screen, and we will answer them before the end of this session. First off, I'm going to introduce the team. Dennis Combit, CEO, Business Development Manager Anthony Mesmer, Head of R&D Jeremy Boulain, Marketing Director Tanya Sawaya, and David Snell, Advisor.
Hello.
Dennis is called upon globally to speak about educational robotics. Prior to becoming the CEO, he was the leading reseller for Easy Robot. Anthony has over a decade of successful business development with educational institutions. Anthony leads business development for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Jeremy has been with Easy Robot for almost a decade and has been instrumental in the design of the Easy Robot electronics and hardware. With over 15 years of international marketing leadership, Tanya is highly experienced in developing brands and raising awareness in target audiences. David is a serial entrepreneur and business leader in the technology space with multiple successful exits. When it comes to investing, the team is often the key determinant for investors. Is this a team that can deliver behind the plans? Today, I hope you can see that there is a diverse and experienced team who can get the growth that has been forecast. So, Dennis, I'm actually going to start with you because we've talked quite a bit, and I think you're probably quite different from other CEOs in the educational robotics space. Can you tell our listeners where you were earlier this week and what you were doing?
Okay, I was at a mining and exploration conference called Redefining Electrical Metals. And I was doing a presentation to the companies in those industries, helping them understand what robotics and AI are, how they're going to impact the workplace, and then how they're going to impact that specific industry. Really to try to help that industry understand and navigate these changes. And then it's also really nice because for me, I get to keep my thumb on the pulse, right, of what's going on in different industries. And it's one of the things I really like to do is try to help people. You know, I mean, historically, we've been talking mostly about children, right, and youth, but certainly this information is definitely applicable for adults as well. So, you know, I've been invited to speak at the Society of Petroleum Engineers, APEGA. I've spoken at the Canadian Heavy Oil Association. So it's really great because I get to kind of act as a conduit between education and the real world. I understand what they're looking for, help them understand what's coming in the outside of their industry. They might know mining really well or exploration really well, but they don't necessarily know robotics or AI really well. So it's a real nice fusion.
Excellent. So I think it's pretty revealing because it shows you're trusted by those industries to provide guidance and support.
Yeah, and I love it, and we have different conversations at those conferences than I would have with the educators, but it all really dovetails together because that's really what the whole push is for us, is to get everybody ready for these changes that are happening, and that's the children that are in school, and that's the companies that are out there today competing in a global landscape.
So, Dennis, in the previous weeks, you have clearly articulated the opportunity in educational robotics. The education robotics market is currently $1 billion and expected to reach $3 billion by 2028. A compound growth rate, depending on whose numbers you're using, of between 15 to 27%, which is huge. And also why you are destined to capture more than your share due to higher levels of engagement. Talk me through your objectives when building this team.
So you always want to have a diverse skill set, and be surrounded with good people. Victoria, for all the conversations we've had, and I've had these friends here, it's nice for people to finally see some of the other people that are involved in the company. It's not all about the robots. And, the truth is the robots are, and the opportunity that we bring to students and to adults to the world is really a combined effort, of all of the team. You were talking about Jeremy. When you look at this incredible technology, I've got a real advantage over Jeremy. I get to go into the classrooms, around the world and make kids lose their mind with this guy. And Jeremy just sits in the lab making it. That's all he gets to do, right? So, it's, and then the opportunity for us is really incredible. When you add excellent people, they bring their wealth of knowledge and different perspectives. So the people that we have in this meeting today, I think, are, really, really excellent at what they do, but also top-notch people. So yeah, really proud of the team we've got here.
That's great to hear. I'll wait for everyone to blush on the screen.
There you go. Nicest thing you've ever said, Dennis.
Jeremy, you have been with the company for nearly 10 years. How has the design and development progressed over the years?
Oh yeah, we started off with using a little Bluetooth robotics controller, and over the years we graduated to Wi-Fi, and that gave us the ability to use cameras and to stream audio. So it's definitely jumped up a level, and yeah, we're pretty proud of what we made.
Excellent. And how much money has been invested to date?
I'm not privy to that information, but
a lot.
There has been quite a bit, yes.
And do you feel you now have, a fully functioning product? Do you feel that there's still much more development to do? How much more investment is needed in the product, would you say?
Well, we've built kind of the solid foundation for everything, and now we are going to accessorize. So we're looking at building it out. So right now we've got a great product and a great solid foundation, as I mentioned, but it's time to keep on going, build more servo motors, different sizes, different form factors, new sensors, get into more higher tech sensors like LiDAR and that kind of thing. And yeah, we'll just move onward and upward.
So it sounds like, it does everything it needs to do today. What you're looking at is actually how the world is developing. You're making sure that it's staying up to date with the latest technology.
You bet. It inherently is quite handy with our controller as it grows with technology. So as technology keeps on growing, so is our product. So it's really in a good place, let's say.
Excellent. So thank you, Jeremy. Anthony, the Easy Robot model, and particularly the growth model, is utilizing resellers.
Absolutely, it is. And, as many of you might know already, or at least the team here at Easy Robot know, Dennis has been a reseller of educational robotics. And we utilize his experiences in the past as a reseller to make sure that we develop a model that is, a great fit for both the reseller, but also Easy Robot, and is something that we can scale and replicate regardless of the territory or country that we're trying to open up. We've seen the potential that resellers can have if they follow the suggestions and the proven methodology that we've seen over the last decade or so. And with my previous experience working at one of the larger educational conferences and trade shows, I've built relationships with schools, universities, technical and vocational centers, as well as educational resellers. And that's what, we have in mind, to utilize this to build a network of distributors, resellers, but more importantly, for me at least, it's the relationship, because we have to spread awareness on the importance of giving all students, regardless of their interests or career path that they have in mind, we have to give them the robotics and AI literacy that they absolutely need. And that's, one of the things that brought me to team up with Dennis and Easy Robot.
Excellent. So how do you select resellers?
So we try to be as flexible as we can, depending on the situation and the capacity, depending on the market, the reseller's own limitations, and more importantly, we look at their strength in that market, and we try to utilize that strength and add our support and experience and knowledge to get the messaging across and to make sure that this awareness that, I probably will mention a couple of more times is actually spread to all the different markets. So that methodology, that approach, we know works, and we try to instill that in the resellers that we work with. We also put a lot of effort supporting these resellers by providing, the technical training on how to use the product, how to market the product to the education community, but more importantly, sharing our knowledge on how robotics and AI will transform the workplace so that they could realize that the only solution and results that make a difference would come through the EasyRobot platform and products.
Excellent. Thank you, Anthony. Tanya, so once the resellers have been selected and are signed up, how do you support them?
So, Victoria, following the support from the sales department, we move on to the marketing. Now, we try to maintain global presence as best we can when it comes to the brand messaging. The first thing we do is we have them fill out a form detailing who is the right person to contact in their respective departments if they have somebody in marketing. If not, maybe a close second. Then we share our brand guidelines with them, which is very detailed in terms of brand messaging, keywords, types of images to use, how to respect the EasyRobot logo, etc. Tone of voice, all of these need to be maintained across all the markets that our resellers are in, because basically they do represent us as a brand. Now, we also support in terms of PR. We announce new partners through press releases in the media, cross-marketing on social media. We also monitor what they are doing. They constantly ask us for feedback. We provide guidance as well. We also try to understand the hiccups that they have in their market. In terms of the communication, maybe some type of words might not resonate, some type of images. It could be more of a, focus on product or more focused on the interaction with the product. So it's not a one size fits all. The only thing that we stress on always is the brand guidelines, which everybody has been very happy to implement and adapt because they find it very easy to use that across all of their communication platforms as well. Another thing, sometimes events, Dennis might fly down if he has the time, attend these events, guide them. So it's a bunch of things put together, and the formula works because the resellers that we have are very open to support, changes, feedback. So it's a happy process, honestly.
Yes, I mean, I'm guessing, and Dennis probably found this on the other end, as a reseller, you actually want a certain level of support. You don't want to just be dumped with a product. So that's great to hear. So with the huge growth predicted in educational robotics, what will EasyRobot do to gain more than its share?
Well, I know that the core essence of the brand is to continue to teach, guide, and inspire change. This will not change. Staying true to who we are is a constant as well. Not losing focus is key. We're continuing to build awareness, which we have found lacking in many cases. There's like a massive gap. So building awareness in terms of change. Now, the market is huge and all competition is welcome. This is where it actually becomes fun for us and very challenging. There's more than enough space for everybody in the market. And the thing is, all of these players bring something different to the table. So it's been interesting to see what everyone else has been doing in terms of robotics and AI. Now, I know as a brand, we're in a good place where we currently have significant market share, and what we're doing is actually resonating with people globally. And to be able to quantify these numbers in terms of inspiring and changing people's lives, I say this very humbly. It's not a show off. It's more like we can see what we've done in terms of change. And this is a testament to what the brand has done. It's more than just adding sales for EasyRobot, whether it's from a brand, marketing, or sales perspective. To be able to find the right people and the audience to utilize your products, it does require a certain type of passion, understanding, and vision, which has been ongoing for 10 plus years. You can build a brand, Victoria, do your PR, have your events, social media, marketing, content, advertising, the whole shebang. But we've actually humanized our brand. We've managed to first position Dennis as a thought leader, and then we've humanized a brand and a market where people think this robot or robots in general are here to take over and push me aside. But we've integrated our products into, listen, this is how you can use our products to help you prepare for what robots are going to change, of course, on a positive note across the world. And we've connected with a lot of people internationally. We receive tons of messages on social media of how mothers send us pictures of their kids in competitions holding our robots. We have grandparents giving testimonials of how they're building our robots with their grandkids. It's really interesting because the brand is quite diverse, even though it's just in robotics. And to be able to display that and make a change, a memorable change, to be exact, and a significant one, it tells you that you have done well as a brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like you've got a real balance of push and pull strategies, which is what you need, and a healthy attitude to competition as well. So I always think, people who say they have no competition usually, are wrong. Everybody has competition. So, thank you, Tanya. So, David, I think it's safe to say that you have been there and done that.
Yeah, I've been around technology a lot longer than you young folks, Victoria, for sure. So, I
don't think you mean me in that one.
Oh, absolutely, I think so. But my roots go back to kind of the late '80s, early '90s. I started out kind of helping. Well, I started out as a technical designer actually, but quickly kind of became much more interested in the finance and the management side, the strategy. Helped to build and take public a couple of wireless companies in the mid '90s that ended up with a market cap, before the tech crash that was slightly larger than TELUS, so that was kind of fun. Working with them kind of led to co-founding an electronics manufacturing company to actually produce the products that we had been designing over in the wireless world. That manufacturer ended up building product for hundreds of companies around North America, and was nominated for the fastest growing startup in the country with Profit Magazine. And we narrowly lost the Entrepreneur of the Year award that year to Clive Beddoe and WestJet. So definitely that was the right choice, I think. History has shown, but it was kind of fun to be kind of competing with groups such as that for those sorts of awards. I progressed slowly into the software side with AI, cloud computing, telecom, and always had kind of a focus on public markets with all those companies, taking companies public and managing through those markets. But things change, and things like crowdfunding have come about these days, and kind of dabble in that side of technology while kind of trying to keep my fingers in the roots of design and old school stuff. So
excellent, thank you. And how are you working with EasyRobot?
So Dennis and I kind of work as an advisor for him, sounding board, help him find connections and introduce him to people, help him look for solutions to electronic problems, manufacturing problems. A lot of what I've touched on in my career is really an element of the operations of Easy Robots, from AI through software development through manufacturing. So I like to see if I can help Dennis solve problems and find new opportunities and new ideas for the platforms.
I think I'm correct in saying you're also an investor, which is very relevant to this call. Why did you invest in EasyRobot?
I am, and ironically, maybe a bit of a backstory, it has almost nothing to do with technology. So many years ago, Dennis probably remembers, Dennis coached my daughter's soccer team. And as a team building exercise, one year, I think she was about 10 years old at the time, maybe 11. Dennis decided to bring all the girls into the Calgary Soccer Center and have a 2-hour session learning how to code and play with robots. And I think at the time, Dennis was still the reseller of EasyRobot. I was looking at it a little bit skeptically, being a tech guy and thinking of the complexities of technology. I thought, I don't know, this 15 sports-oriented 10-year-old girls in a robot lab, well, we'll see how it goes. So dropped her off with Dennis, took off with my son, and came back in an hour and a half to kind of check on how they were doing. And I was, Victoria, absolutely blown away. I walked into a room of these, again, 10-year-old girls that were absolutely enthralled and mesmerized by these little tiny robots. They were programming them to do somersaults, to kick soccer balls, to high-five each other. And, I would not have thought that was possible. And the first thing, Dennis did when he saw me is he grabbed my son, who was 5 at the time, took a picture of him and said, Matthew, come on up here. And within, I'm going to guess 5 minutes, Dennis, my son waved at one of the robots and said, "Oh, hi, Matthew," and it waved back. And my son was stunned, right? So to this day, we have a little tradition in the family where at the beginning of school, the first day of the year, we take a picture of the kids in front of a certain tree in our yard, and they hold up a sign saying, "What do I want to be?" Well, I have Matthew's sign from a little while ago in my garage that says, "When I grow up, I want to be a robot builder." Right? It sort of left that much of an impression on him when he was 5 years old. So the fact that Dennis could kind of compel this group of 10-year-old, very rambunctious, wild girls that were very sports oriented with these robots really stuck with me for years. And when Dennis bought Easy Robot, immediately it's like, Dennis, I think I can help you. Let's talk. I saw the impact it had on my daughter and thought there's something there, right? This is absolutely going to go somewhere. And was interested not just from an investment point of view, but I was interested in the impact that I saw those robots having on a bunch of kids that I knew, right? So I thought it needs to get out there further, and it's going to be a fun, profitable thing to be part of, getting it out there further. So I got involved as an investor, as an advisor, and as a general headache for Dennis.
I'm sure not a headache. Thank you very much, David. And I think, one of the things that I consistently hear is the level of engagement that Easy Robot gets. It really, and when we're talking about robotics literacy, which is vital for everybody, if it doesn't motivate you or float your boat, you're probably not going to be interested in it. So to have something engages, it does increase the chance of people actually getting the education that they need.
And I'm not doing my job if I'm not a headache to Dennis, just so we all agree on that.
I'm glad there's someone else other than myself. So.
Oh, now it's getting real. No.
I feel guilty now.
No, Victoria, it's interesting, and David, thank you for those nice words. That's the same thing we see everywhere. And when I met Anthony first, Anthony was working for this education conference and was contacting me saying, "Hey, you should come and exhibit." And I started to talk to Anthony about who we are, what we do, why we do it, and I started to explain to him how robotics and AI is going to change everything. And Anthony's got a young son. And Anthony's like, "Oh, this is important. I better get involved with this." And then, but it's interesting because when we were in Dubai last November, and I don't know, we met with 16 schools for the sake of argument. And for the first 14 schools, Anthony was hearing me talk about how the kids lose their mind and they're super excited. And we get all the kids that aren't interested in learning robotics wanting to learn robotics. And, I think, Anthony, I won't say he disagreed or was disbelieving, but the level of impact is so high that educators often don't believe, right? Like, so educators right now are trying to get more kids engaged in robotics and computer science and STEM education. And at the high school level, we've talked about this, 3% of boys, 0.3% of girls. So when I say to a principal, I can go from 3 girls out of 1,000 to 300 in a day, that seems impossible. And so I think probably as we were traveling through Dubai, Anthony had a little bit of that, I don't know if it's that great. And then we got into a couple of schools where we could actually work with the kids. And it's just like, it's so infectious and wonderful. Best part of my job. Anyway.
Well, Dennis, as an engineer by trade, and a guy that's been involved in tech for 30 years, I got to say, when I saw those robots and those kids, it was humbling because I spent 30 years designing what I thought was some pretty high-tech stuff and programming some pretty high-tech stuff. And to see my daughter at 10 doing things I could only imagine made me kind of wonder if I'd sort of wasted my life. It was humbling seeing these little kids able to do all of these things with these robots. But it was fun, right? It was inspiring at the same time. So sorry, a bit of a tangent there.
No, I think good content. If people see me looking down, it's because I'm checking my phone because we're streaming this live to Facebook. Thank you to everybody who joined on Facebook. We have got a question that's come in from Hussam. How do you plan to provide support for students and educational institutions that are interested in AI and robotics?
Should I take that one? Who would you? I mean, I'm happy to answer it, but I talk so much in these things, Victoria. But the support is there. So we've got a self-directed curriculum, so anybody can learn robotics. Anybody can teach it, right? We've really looked at the whole thing as a solution, not just as a product, right? Jeremy's in there. He's doing an incredible job looking at it as a product, making a fantastic product, right? Anthony's out there. He's looking at the relationship with the resellers, looking at the relationship that the resellers have with the educators. So we provide training to the teachers to make sure the teachers know what they're doing. We've got over 100 tutorials and activities on the website that are free that people can do. So if people are having a challenge, they can usually find that information online, right? And then people contact us from time to time asking questions, going, hey, here's what I want to do. So we will answer those questions, put stuff up on the internet and on our website so that people can find that information. But we've got a really great turnkey solution. And in terms of supporting the students, we do that through the educators. We make sure the educators have what they need. We do that through the website. And students can go from zero knowledge, which really is kind of where when David was talking about teaching our daughter's soccer team robotics, they came in with no knowledge and they come out and they just got such a high level of confidence, right? So the platform is powerful enough to go all the way to the top, right? The educational opportunity is there. We just make sure that we're scaffolding people and taking them up through the process.
I think one thing you say there, which is really important, is the confidence that you build. And, I think a lot of the robotics literacy is not just being able to do something, but actually having the confidence to do it and the confidence to take it and use it elsewhere. Okay, excellent. Next question. My favorite question. Who are your main competitors and why are you better? I think that ties in nicely to Tanya's acknowledgement that there is competition out there.
Well, I would name the top two, which are Lego and Vex. Now, they've done great things as well, and we've done great things as well. As I mentioned, there's enough room for everybody, and everybody is making change in their own way. I still think our product is the best. Otherwise, I would not be with Easy Robot. Because if we look at it from a software and hardware perspective, we have certain advantages that the competition does not have, which is very easy to spot if you just compare the products. Our products also scale with you as you advance, whether it's through building the robot, programming the robot, whether you're 8 years old or you're 20 years old, or you just do this as a hobby. So I think that flexibility and scalability is also another thing that sets us apart from the competition.
I think the impact as well that we have on the students. I mean, I know Dennis was talking about, the trip to Dubai and how many times I heard him in normal presentations or normal conversations that we were having with educators on the actual impact and the excitement. And as Dennis mentioned, I saw it firsthand. And we walked into a school where the school had 1,600 students. Only 6 were in the robotics club. Now, if the competition was doing such a good job, I would have imagined there would have been slightly more students taking this class or course. Now, when we walked in, and obviously the students, the robotics club were there, I wanted to see students that weren't interested in robotics. So I asked the vice principal to go out and bring in some other students, which he, thankfully did. And those students were coming in. Some of the boys were playing football. The girl was painting. You could see they were doing activities that they considered as fun or hobbies that they actually enjoyed. Now, when they sat down, I could see the eyes rolling. I hear the little chatter. And I was in the back of the class thinking, all right, this is when, you know, I get to see that energy and this excitement. So I started taking videos from the back because I didn't want to be seen in the front. But then as the presentation went on, I started to see how the kids changed, their body language changed, the excitement level changed. And towards the end, those were the children that were there, you know, 10, 15 minutes past the time they had to be picked up by their parents, taking videos, asking questions. And one of the girls said something that that Dennis and I still remember and still kind of talk about, is that she said, I used to be afraid of robots and now I'm not. So the impact from just that one example for me is what puts us over the edge, or what puts us over, you know, the competition in terms of impact, product, software. And, you know, I believe the support that resellers get is also one of the major reasons I think we will be doing much better than any competition in the future.
I'd like to throw to Jeremy on this as well, because I love the answers that Tanya and Anthony gave, because they're accurate and they refer to kind of those areas. But we have a significant technological advantage over those companies as well. And, you know, Jeremy is, Jeremy's the guy that did it, right? So it's something that I just, real quickly, Jeremy, without getting into huge technical details, do you want to comment on what the capabilities are really quickly in terms of what children or adults can do with our product versus some of the competition? Just real quick.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to jump in and definitely say that some of the advantages that we have over those, some of our larger competitors that Tanya mentioned are, if you look at the robots that are surrounding Dennis, their pieces are easily put together, and I think students can put them together in 45 minutes. They're just macro pieces rather than being like micro pieces in terms of Lego and Vex, or having to put things together with, a screwdriver and stuff. We're just clip and play, just put it together and you're on your way. And some of the other things are that we have streaming audio and streaming video, and also we have camera vision, so you can actually do different things with tracking with camera stuff. And Lego and Vex are way behind in that area. We've got a large lead in terms of doing that, and that's, I guess it's getting better every day. Every day that we use it and get more experience with it, and our users are using it and just gaining more confidence and using it in practical ways. It just boosts us that much further. And these companies don't seem to value that. And we're doing real robotics. We have a controller that is an all-in-one robotics controller. These other companies are just focusing on just moving motors and adding a couple sensors. And we want to do the high-level robotic stuff like cameras and definitely sensors, more advanced sensors, and that streaming audio and the voice, and so you can actually hear the robot talk or record your own voice and hear your own voice come out of the robot. So many cool and advanced things that we can do comparatively.
I think what you can do with our robots is incredible, because again, working in my previous job, working alongside a lot of the companies, or all the companies that were mentioned as well as others, I noticed that they, like, when you look at the product, it just looks too much for someone as simple-minded as I am. Too many pieces, too many screwdrivers, too many things, and I'm the type of person that hates putting furniture together. So when I look at it distracts me, but at the same time it intimidates me. So when I looked at the JD the humanoid, or Rolly the rover, or Six the hexapod, it's very simple to put together. I don't have to stress the unnecessary stress that I need to build a robot for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, just in to be able to learn what I could learn after 45 minutes and an hour putting together. And the first time I actually put JD together, I did it with the help of my 5-year-old, and he loved it. Like, he was telling me, no, the wire, the black wire has to match with it. I mean, we watched a video, we watched a few minutes of a video online, and, he was telling me what to do. And I love that, because we advertise our robots for 8 or 10 years and above. But in fact, the way I saw my son interact with it, and, he pushed me to learn a little more so I can entertain him with the robot. So I think, again, like, it's not only stronger, but the impact it has is, for me, what got me hooked.
The best part of technology, and I think this is true, Victoria, of all technology, is when it's not noticeable. It's hidden behind the user experience, right? We spend billions of dollars worldwide taking technology that was developed by a bunch of engineers like me and then trying to turn it into a good user experience. And I think what Easy Robot did very well from the outset was they designed around the user experience first. So all the stuff Jeremy said is fabulous, and I hope I'm not about to offend you, Jeremy. But the reality is, a 5-year-old looks at that and does not care about an optical sensor. They look at this and say, hey, cool, it has eyes. Maybe I can wave at it. Turns out you can, right? All these things they can do, the technology is kind of hidden in behind and isn't so intimidating. As Anthony says, it doesn't scare people, right? They're not afraid of the robots. Having that deep technology base, but hidden behind the user experience, makes it so easy to use and so compelling, right? So it's just logical to a child.
The one thing that Dennis always starts off all his presentations with, do you think you can build your own robot? And then everyone says no. And then when he shows them, everyone believes they can. So not only do we engage students, we empower them as well. We have testimonials from students saying, I didn't know I could build my own robot. It's so cool that I can build my own robot. In addition, most of our brand messaging includes, did you know you can build your own robot? Yes, it is that easy. So you see a little robot, whether it's the humanoid, the rover, or the hexapod, and they each have a name. People put personalities to them. They treat them as friends. So you're connecting psychologically with, let's say, a student who could be maybe of a child's age, and telling them, yes, you can do something. And yes, you can not be scared of something that you perceive as scary, maybe through the media or whatever perceptions you may have or were taught. And when you empower this child, we've been told by many educators that they concentrate more in the classroom, even attendance has gone up, and they're more confident in the way they interact with their peers as well. So it's not just about building a robot, you're helping form a child's personality, which is very crucial in their development stage.
I'm sorry, Victoria, I need to jump in on this as well. It's such a good question. And I love all of the answers that we're getting back. And this is one of the great things about this, is because the product has been so well put together, and the solution around the product has been so well put together. It really checks a whole lot of boxes, so it's not fast. And I just want to, because we're talking about, investing in the company and the team behind the company and stuff like that. One thing that I think is important to understand is, we've got technological advantage, we've got engagement advantage, ease of use, high-end ceiling in terms of power. We've got a lot of advantages. We're selling into education, and educators are always looking for something that is going to, I won't use the word evergreen, but it doesn't need to be evergreen, but they're looking for longevity, and they're looking for value, and trying to keep the cost per student for the education low. And we've also got that advantage as well, because we've got people that can use this platform multiple times a day, right? So we can have the first period, somebody's using it, second period, it's recharging, third period, somebody's using it. So the cost per student, if a school is optimized and they amortize the price over 5 years, of which the product easily has that lifespan, and tangibly longer, I think. I'm happy to talk about that too. But the cost we're talking about is $7 a student, right? So we've got all this incredible education that's actually incredibly affordable. And it's interesting as well. And Jeremy was alluding to all of the sensors and servos and all of the and everything. It's almost like an open platform. It's not 100% open, but it's like that, where we've got customers that bought the robot 10 years ago. And when they bought that, they didn't know that they were going to be able to control it with a mobile phone. And then all of a sudden they could. And the product they bought 3 years prior became better than the day they bought it. And then they didn't know they were going to be able to use VR glasses or hook into AI. So when schools are getting involved with Easy Robot, they're getting a team that is involved in robotics, in the robotics industry, that is involved in industry. We're connecting the dots between education and the real world, making sure that children are going on this pathway. They've got a product that can go there. And if things are pivoting in the real world, the technology can make that pivot without the school having to throw everything away and make another $10,000 investment, right? So it's got that advantage as well. And that's a really important one when we talk about what percentage of the market can Easy Robot capture, right? We go from primary school to university into adult training or retraining, and we've got a product that everybody is excited about using. We get rid of the fear. They can learn the highest end, cost effective. We've really got a special product and a special opportunity.
Incredibly important points. And I think, when you're looking at, we're talking about the competition, they may not be as attuned to the educational needs, because all educational budgets are cautious. And so, I think for some investors, they're going, oh, you should be charging more. But the market is so big that if you can capture that big market, there is a huge opportunity for Easy Robot.
Well, and there's an interesting. I made an interesting comment. I just got off of a podcast right before this, and the comment is that the market is simultaneously proven, because we know that schools are buying educational robotics. We know that they certainly need to buy educational robotics. Everybody needs this literacy, so we know the market is going to expand. But it's a validated market. But because the products that are in the market today get such a low level of engagement, even the schools that are already into this will need to pivot and make sure that they've got a way to get more children into this. So it's a really unique situation where we know there's a massive market globally, and we know that we've got validation, we've got sales users in 170 countries. All of those things are lined up perfectly. And there's competition out there, but we know that even the schools that have already bought some robotics are going to come back and they're going to have to upgrade, because what they've bought is not going to do the job properly for what actually needs to get accomplished.
And I think that ties into another question that's just come in. What does robotic literacy mean in practical terms? You teed that one up perfectly. Thank you.
Okay.
Or Anthony, did you want to? I saw you unmuted. So.
No, it's fine, Dennis. Dennis can go ahead. I actually wanted to make a comment on the previous topic, but
sneak it in.
Sneak it in. I was going to say that yes, obviously the product keeps improving as more advancements in technology happens, and I think the impact it has is great. Dennis was talking about adult training, and part of one of the reasons why I became more interested in Easy Robot, and this was before I worked for Dennis or started working for Easy Robot, was that I noticed that the products that I knew were meant to be a solution didn't appeal to me. Again, because of my non-engineering mindedness or my inability to put things together, my frustration that is quickly brought out. So I started thinking, well, what if my 5-year-old son is the same? And, having spoken to Dennis about the changes that are coming, and I started to realize that we are surrounded by robotic applications. I never thought that the little sensor on top of the door at the mall that opens up to you is actually a robotic application. So I started to see a lot of the things that Dennis mentioned during our call, started to tie it in with my own personal situation, thinking, well, it's not late for me to learn this, but it's definitely not too late for him to learn, for my son to learn this. And what if he's like me? So the important part, I think, here is we make it easier to learn robotics, and we simplify things so that it's not overcomplicating, whether it's the curriculum that we use or the way the product is set up, to, the easy clip system, the wiring, all of that is so well thought about and taken care of that when you buy an Easy Robot product, you're spending half an hour to an hour building it, and that's when the learning begins. Rather than if it was me building it for a week and being frustrated for a month, and then probably not a lot of learning is going to take place after that because of the way I am as a person and my personality. So that's one thing I wanted to add, is that, it's not just about the students in the classroom or the parents, it's the actual impact and change that a product like this could bring, that I, in my 10 years working with a lot of these resellers and the competition as well, I didn't see in any of their products. So that was one thing I wanted to add it before Dennis jumps on to the next one.
And I think
really
really
good point.
Dennis and answered both questions, but
Sorry, say again, Dave?
I think he backdoored you and partially answered both questions. But
I think so, but I do want to address that as well, Victoria, because when we talk about robotics literacy, AI literacy, what are we really talking about? And there's a pivot happening in education where they're beginning to move towards an understanding of needing literacy for students. And I love to parallel it to computer education or computer science education. Back when I was a younger lad and I was, in high school, they offered computer courses, computers 10, 20, 30. And in that, you were learning basic programming. But there was an interesting thing that has happened between then and now. So, some programmers would write software for the accounting industry. The accounting industry says, hey, this is awesome. They write some software for the medical industry. Medical industry says, this software is awesome. And back in the 70s and 80s, we all had the understanding that computer software is pretty beneficial to these individual industries. We'll probably need more programmers in the future. And that proved to be a true statement. But what was missing was the understanding that as computers become more relevant in more industries, everybody needs computer literacy. And this is where everybody doesn't have to be a computer programmer, but if you don't know how to utilize your computer, surf the internet, do word processing, use a spreadsheet, right? Or graphic design, or all of those possibilities, if you can't use a computer, you're significantly disadvantaged. And so what we now understand within education is we need to bring literacy to everybody. And this is where when we go back and we talk about, the schools today are getting 3% of boys or 0.3% of girls at the high school level interested in learning, and 1,967 kids getting no literacy in these areas at all. That's a huge problem when we know what the pivot is coming, in society. So when we talk literacy, we're talking about, our introduction to robotics program. It's about 40 hours of classroom time, self-directed. Anybody can teach it. Anybody can learn it. We get kids from zero knowledge up to understanding robotics, the different components that are there, how they're utilized in society, how to program a robot. They're learning math through angles, engineering, physics. We're bringing them morals and ethics. I think those are incredibly important when we're talking about teaching robotics and AI, because these are incredibly powerful technologies, and we need to start, making sure that everybody is thinking about, we can do this, but should we do this? Or how should we do this so that it's in an equitable and ethical way, right? So, and then, how to apply this technology to what's in your heart. And that's really a big focus that we have when we're teaching robotics. We're not focused on, on making your robot, for the sake of argument, follow a line, right? Because in that case, your education is about the engineering of making the robot follow the line. Great. But when we're talking about robotics education, it is, how could I make a robot that would be a good companion for my grandma in a lodge? How could I make a robot that can go into the oceans and sift out plastic? How can I make a robot that can take, the bad gases out of the air? It becomes about applying the technology according to what the children are interested in. And when we do that, we not only get all of the kids literate and the fear goes away, the confidence goes up, but then we also happen to get a whole bunch more kids that are interested in learning that technology to a deeper depth because they're confident and they've lost that fear. So, but the literacy is always the first level. And for us, when we're teaching robotics literacy, we're talking about speech recognition, vision tracking. We're teaching an introduction to AI. What is AI? What isn't AI? What are some of the challenges with robot vision, right? Like, and so kids are getting what is a pretty high level of education, is what we would consider to be literate. And then they can go on and they can apply that information, whether they want to be a teacher, fashion designer, go into business, medicine, scientist, doesn't matter. They understand how to apply the technology to that passion. I had to throw that in there. Sorry. I know, Anthony, you did a decent job of answering it, but this is so critically important. This is really the fundamental thing that we're talking about here. Why is this so important, and what is the difference in how we do it?
Yeah. I think you've all very clearly indicated exactly why it is important, how your level of engagement ensures that the children and right the way through up to the adults get this robotics literacy and future training that is absolutely needed in this marketplace. I should just say, seeing as this is all about the team, we actually have had somebody come in on Facebook and ask if there's any internship opportunities for computer science students. So your team could grow if you would like. But I think that shows that, the interest and engagement on all sides. So on that note, I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining today. Thank you to the team just for sharing your viewpoints. And I think what we're seeing is we have some very strong skill sets on this call that really add towards a common vision and a common purpose that is needed and is having a huge impact globally in the world of educational robotics. So the Easy Robot campaign is currently on Equivesto and has already achieved over 120% of its goal, but you can still invest. Minimum investment of $1,000. And if you want to use your TFSA and RRSP for investments over $2,500. And this is at the moment through Equivesto across the whole of Canada. So they have opened up across Canada. If you are not in Canada, please email. We have a plan. Please make sure you have signed up to keep up to date with all the news from Easy Robot. As you can see, lots of exciting things going on around the world. So thank you, everybody, for attending today. Thank you, team. Really good to hear from you, and also to see a very healthy dynamic between you all.
There you go. Thank you, Victoria, and thank you, Dennis. It's been a fun ride. So
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Good things ahead.
Bye-bye.